just about ready here in Cleveland. Baltimore winning the toss, selecting to receive. And we're underway week 3. Baltimore a winner 9 days ago at home against the Steelers, and Cleveland had come from behind win here last Sunday against Drew Brees and the Saints. Here comes Joe Flacco. There is a penalty marker down on the kick. Bill Levy is our referee. Flacco getting his offense coached by Gary Kubiak on the field. Solomon missed practice on Wednesday. Was listed
offside. Number 41 of the kicking team. 5-yard penalty and re-kick.
So now the offense and the defense will be walking off the field. Levy says they will re-kick.
Elected to have the 5-yard penalty enforced from the 20 to the 25. First down and 10 at the 25.
All right, so some early confusion. Levy correcting things, and Flacco and company will stay on the field. But as I said, Flacco missing practice on Wednesday. It's only the second time he's been listed on an injury report since 2009. Minor illness, and Flacco ready to go, trying to build off what they did week 2 against the Steelers. First and 10 for the 25. Flacco under duress as he throws, intended for Torrey Smith. Incomplete. It'll be 2nd and 10. So Flacco, his pass attempt, Solomon, way down at 62 in the opening day loss to Cincinnati last week. Really, really good. 21-29 in the win.
And already coming up with a chunk of grass sticking out of his helmet. I'm sure he's hoping that it's not a sign of things to come. You don't want your quarterback on the ground.
You saw Flacco's record against the Cleveland Browns, 11-1. He says he still has a lot of respect for this defense. Pass complete to the tight end, Owen Daniels, who had 2 touchdowns in that win over the Steelers. Starters Jeremy Zuttah acquired for a 5th-round pick from Tampa Bay, and he has yielded immediate dividends for their offensive line. We mentioned the injury to Bernard Pierce. Forsett starts, and Steve Smith targeted 25 times over the first 2 weeks of the season. That is second behind only Green Bay's Jordy Nelson. As the 3-time Pro Bowler starts the newest chapter in his illustrious career. Third, short inside, complete. That's the tight end again. That time, Dennis Pitta. And what a 1-2 combination, Solomon, they have been through 2 weeks.
No, the tight ends are the focal part of this passing game, and Joe Flacco said he had to come out and get the passing game going early, get Dennis Pitta going. Owen Daniels, already saw him all in one. They also want to get Steve Smith involved in the game early. He's now on the sideline.
First and 10 after the completion. This is Forsett. It's back to the line of scrimmage, and that defensive front able to bring him down. This is a defense that has yielded on average 450 yards of offense over the first 2 weeks. Otava Rubin headlines their front. Rubin, the longest tenured player on this defense. Paul Kruger, disappointing first year in Cleveland last year, but in this Pettine system, he has been very good over the first 2 weeks. And Joe Hayden, now the highest paid cornerback in the NFL today, will be matched up almost exclusively with Smith. Second and short, it's Forsett. Making Lorenzo Taliaferro, the rookie, now the 2nd-string running back with the injured Pierce. There is Mike Pettine getting his first win as Browns head coach last week. And I tried to temper the enthusiasm here in Cleveland this week. Says all it guarantees is that we won't go 0-16.
Yeah, he's looking for sustained success here with the Cleveland Browns. Want to be able to build off a really impressive win 1 week ago over New Orleans.
First and 10, near side throw. It's caught. That's Pitta. 2nd reception. Had a chance to visit with Pitta yesterday. Talked about that very, very harsh injury, the dislocation, fractured hip. Was on crutches, couldn't put any weight on it for about 2 months. But boy, once he was able to start his rehab, Solomon, he was back quickly. 4 months, played the final 4 games of the season.
It was a contract year, and so he says now he's just, happy to be healthy and back playing with the Baltimore Ravens.
Second and short. There's Taliaferro again. Rookie out of Coastal Carolina. They took him with a 4th-round pick. He led the NFL, Solomon, in the preseason in rushing yards.
Well, he's one of those players that he is going to be good hitting it. Look, up inside, what we call the inside zone play by the left guard, Kelechi Osemele. You hit it there. Nice block by Juszczyk. the fullback on the kickout, but they need to be able to run coming downhill at this Cleveland Brown defense today.
Flacco on 1st and 10, surveys the defense under pressure. Across his body with the throw and finds Smith. Inside the 20, first down play. They pick up 18 yards. Buster screen on the tackle.
How about this? Joe Flacco, 6'6", 245. You don't think of him in the same mold, say, of a Cam Newton, but this guy is really good. Watch him here, then the escapability to roll to his left, and then we told you, when he gets out of the pocket, he's looking deep. And he finds Torrey Smith down the field, but his ability to escape and extend plays at 6'6", I think is quite remarkable.
For Torrey Smith, only 4 catches entering today to the season's first 2 weeks. 1st and 10, it's for a set. Keeps the pile going for some positive yardage, picks up 3 yards. A lot made this week about the team not looking at Torrey Smith, kind of a non-factor the first couple of games, and a couple of early targets already.
He said he wanted to get the guys going early, and also, all the controversy surrounding this team, and John Harbaugh saying he wanted his team to be focused. They said that the field serves as a sanctuary. How about this impressive drive to start the game here on the road in Cleveland by the Baltimore Ravens offense?
This will be the 10th play of the drive. They mark it just outside the 15-yard line. This is Caliafaro, gobbled up by the Cleveland front four. Jabal Sheard coming up from his backup linebacker spot, the 4th-year man out of Pittsburgh and a former second-round pick. That'll set up a 3rd and 6 and decision time here for Gary Kubiak.
Yeah, do you come after the quarterback or do you stay strong at the line of scrimmage? You can see their red zone defense right in the middle of the National Football League, but if you talk to Mike Benton, he'll tell you his defense isn't playing nearly in terms of where he expects. Let's see if they come after the quarterback and try to force a quick and hurry throw from Joe Flacco.
3rd and 6. Penalty markers whistle the play. That looks like a false start against the Ravens.
False start. Number 60, offense. 5-yard penalty, 3rd down.
That's Eugene Monroe. Baltimore just 7 penalties over the first 2 weeks. That ties Miami and Tampa for the fewest. But an early mistake here will pin him back 5 yards.
But they're getting down there by the dog pound. And there's been a resurgence in the energy and the noise coming from the dog pound here in Cleveland. They get very loud at that end, and I think it disturbed them and distracted them on that previous play.
11th play of the drive, 3rd and 11. Flacco airs it in the end zone, near side, incomplete. Steve Smith, the intended receiver, and Joe Hayden. What a matchup between those 2 Pro Bowlers all afternoon.
We told you Joe Hayden's going to be locked up in the slot with Steve Smith all day. Look, there's some hand fighting there at the top of that route beyond 5 yards. Believe the officials kind of let Joe Hayden get away with it a little bit because he wasn't looking back to play the ball. I thought it was good coverage initially by Joe Hayden, but he's got to be careful once he gets beyond the 5 yards to take his hands off and then cover with his feet by excellent movement in defending against Steve Smith.
38-yard attempt from Justin Tucker. Sam Cook, the holder. Morgan Cox on the snap. And Baltimore able to salvage 3 points. So a good-looking opening drive. Stalls in the red zone. Ravens with the early lead. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Scoring drive for Joe Flacco and the Ravens. They cover 60 yards, 12 plays, just under 6 minutes. Solomon's so critical for them to get off to the early start with everything this team has been dealing with over the last couple of weeks.
Well, absolutely, and they've talked about it, that they feel like the field has served as their sanctuary to help block out many of the distractions swirling around this football team.
Tucker's kick booms to the back of the end zone. Fair catch signaled by Travis Benjamin. Cleveland native Brian Hoyer onto the field for the first time when we continue next on CBS.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Without a heart, it's just a machine. Jaguar. See the new model year lineup at JaguarUSA.com. And by CenturyLink, your link to what's next.
for the Ravens. Brian Hoyer onto the field for the first time. They've got it 1st and 10 from the 20. Pitch play to Terrence West. Baltimore native facing his hometown team tonight. What a start to his NFL career. Chris Canty on the tackle. So here is Hoyer, a two-sport athlete at St. Ignatius High School, local kid here in Cleveland, less than 2 miles, Solomon, from where we are here.
Yeah, and what he has proven is that he knows how to manage and then win ball games. Today you're going to see him a lot, Spiro, in the no-huddle offense. Let's see if he can play just as well as he did 1 week ago when he out-dueled Drew Brees to come away with a win.
Hoyer masterful on that final drive, completed 8 passes, took it 85 yards down the field. Early completion to Andrew Hawkins, the 4th-year man who leads them in receptions and receiving yards. Here's Alex Mack, signed to a long-term lucrative extension, one of the most coveted offensive linemen on the free agent market last offseason. Jordan Cameron did not play with a shoulder last week. He makes his return, first-time Pro Bowler a year ago. Welcome addition. That makes the win last week even more impressive. Not only the absence of Ben Tate, also Jordan Cameron. His West pitch play trying to find the edge. Across the 30, picks up 3 yards on the play for Cleveland. Defensive starter Haloti Ngata making the move from the nose to defensive tackle. 5-time Pro Bowler. Linebacking core headlined by Terrell Suggs in a bit of a sack drought, but he's got 15 career sacks against Cleveland, more than against any other team. And a sight for sore eyes for Baltimore fans. Lardarius Webb making his season debut back from that lower back injury. Didn't play in the preseason. 2nd and 7. Kyle Shanahan, Solomon keeping it conservative with West. Ravens weren't fooled.
Wow, I tell you right now, the Baltimore Ravens defense, their defensive line are coming off the ball. And that's, you talked to Alex Smith, the center for the Cleveland Browns. They talked about Haloti Ngata. Look at number 55. Look at Suggs getting up the field. And then watch how he peels back to get back into the play. He's physical at the point of attack, and then the speed and hustle to still be able to come back and get in on the tackle.
Isaiah Crowell, the other rookie running back onto the field. This is 3rd and 5. Hoyer, bullet pass over the middle. It's caught. Miles Austin on the first down reception. 6 yards, and the Browns move the chains.
Brian Hoyer right now working really well. And watch as Miles Austin gets jammed here by Jimmy Smith. That's a great jam at the line of scrimmage, but he's able to separate as Miles Austin come underneath and still make the play in front of the safety. But just an excellent jam initially by Smith, but then Miles Austin still able to come away with the catch.
See Austin's numbers last week in the win over the Saints. This is Hoyer on 1st and 10 under pressure, and brought down back at the 40. Dumping him down for a
Ill use of the hands to the face. Number 73 offense. 10-yard penalty. Repeat first down.
So they'll replay the down. That's against the 7-time Pro Bowler Joe Thomas, who has struggled, Solomon, over the years against Suggs.
Well, Suggs is a handful. And Joe Thomas, you know, he anchors in what I think is fastly becoming one of the best offensive lines in football here with the Cleveland Browns. Alex Mack, Joe Bitonio, who they drafted in the 2nd round, playing next to Joe Thomas. They're playing very well. They've got to continue to play well here today. This is probably going to be their toughest test so far this season.
Now they split Crowell out at the top of your picture. Cameron in motion on 1st and 20. There's an out over the middle. It's incomplete. Crowd wanted a flag. They don't get it. It'll be 2nd and 20.
Darian Stewart, number 24, matched up against Jordan Cameron. They get tangled up. This is what they call incidental contact. See, he's playing, and see, they just get tripped up. And I know the fans wanted a penalty there, but you know that's called incidental contact. The legs get tangled up. That can happen when you're in tight coverage down the field. There was no pushing. There was no grabbing of the jersey. Technically, by the rule, I understand why the officials let that one go.
So tough to be defensive back in today's NFL with the new rules. No penalty on that play. 2nd and 20. Hoyer this time finds Cameron inside Ravens territory down to the 45. 23 big yards and a Cleveland first down.
Jordan Cameron sorely missed. We looked at him at the top of the screen there. He's going to be here. Then he He's going to come in on the motion, come inside, then watch him get back out on that 7 route to the outside, wide open, finding the soft spot in the zone. And I got to tell you, Brian Hoyer is very impressive in getting rid of the ball on time with great accuracy. He can slice your defense if you don't tighten up the coverage on the back end.
8th play of the drive inside Ravens territory. This is 1st and 10. End around play, little trickery. It's Benjamin. Ravens able to recover. Forced out of bounds by Suggs, who covered an awful lot of ground.
He sure did. He was smoking. Now watch him go running. Look, Brian Hoyer act like he wants to block him. Watch at the top of the screen. Oh, no. He wasn't going to block him. Suggs would have probably teed off on him. And I think it's right for the quarterback. You got to protect yourself for your offensive coordinator, Kyle Shanahan, live to fight another day.
They end up losing 2 yards, so this is 2nd and 12. Harder play action. Going deep, has Benjamin. Caught inside the 5 and dragged down right after the catch by Matt Elam. 43 yards, penalty marker down.
Flag is going to be down. Maybe they call it face mask on the tackle. Travis Benjamin probably is going to score on that one.
Shanahan needed something on 2nd and long, and he comes up with the perfect play as we await the call.
No call, no call. Maybe they picked it up.
So they pick up the flag. It is 1st and goal after a 43-yard pass play. And now it looks like we'll get a timeout as the Browns want to talk it over. So both teams with some awfully impressive drives to start their day.
Yeah, there's Travis Benjamin, number 11, coming across the formation. Watch him come across the face of the safety, and see Elam doesn't pick him up. He's not fast enough to cover and stay with Benjamin, and it was a play-action fake. So the defenders were looking into the backfield. Hoyer does an excellent job getting rid of the ball on time with great accuracy and getting the ball down the field. And there's the tackle by Elam. Turns out it wasn't a face mask. They initially thrown the flag thinking it was. They picked it up. But what a play by Travis Benjamin to haul that one in, and good throw from the quarterback, Brian Hoyer.
1st and goal inside the 5. What a Shanahan dial up here. Hoyer, third pass, back corner, end zone. Incomplete. Penalty marker comes flying in. Matt Elam once again on the coverage for the Ravens.
Pass interference. Number 26, defense. Foul occurred in the end zone. Ball will be placed at the 1-yard line. First down.
See, Matt Elam, number 26, watch. See, he's not playing the ball, but he's got his hands tied on to the tight end, Jordan Cameron. And if you don't get around and start at some point to try to play the ball and you're grabbing, you're beyond 5 yards past the line of scrimmage, that's when the officials are going to throw the flag.
This is 1st and goal. They inch closer. You see Baltimore, their red zone defense, very, very impressive. They only allowed 1 touchdown, Solomon, through the first 2 games of the season.
Yeah, and that came on, what, a 77-yarder to A.J. Green going back to week 1. They kept the Pittsburgh Steelers in that Thursday night game out of the end zone. You can see down inside the red zone, they've yet to give it a touchdown when they're in this area of the field. And if you're Cleveland, you got to rely on that big, strong offensive line we talked about.
11th play of the drive, 2nd and goal. Touchdown, Terrence West, leaping over the pile, and Cleveland takes the lead.
We said this offensive line is emerging into one of the best in the NFL. Center Alex Mack, right guard John Greco, 77. Mitchell Schwartz, 72, off the right side. It's where they go, and they hit Pater getting into the end zone. This is a loaded defensive front. And Brandon Williams, Haloti Ngata, and Chris Canty, you got to be good up front to get movement against this Baltimore Ravens defensive line.
Terrence West, who has been a revelation, a former 3rd-round pick in last year's draft. Point after by Billy Cundiff, the one-time Baltimore Raven. And that makes it 7-3. 11 plays, 80 yards as Hoyer and company pick up right where they left off. 7-3, you're watching the NFL on CBS. Today's football action, download the CBS Sports app right now for lightning fast scores, breaking news, video, and more, all on your phone. 2nd career touchdown from the rookie Terrence West. against his hometown team, the former Baltimore High School star. Starred in Towson. Also in town there, Jacoby Jones watches him take the pass to the end zone. Joe Flacco back onto the field after that impressive opening drive, down 7-3 late in the first.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by FedEx One Rate. Simple flat rate shipping with the reliability of FedEx. And by Bose, official sound of the NFL.
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, not far from where we are here, a must-stop for any visitor to Cleveland. 7-3 Browns, great energy in this stadium. Browns looking for their second straight win against a team that has owned them in recent years. Justin Forsett, they go play action on 1st and 10. Flacco's going to take a shot. That's incomplete, intended for Torrey Smith. So that very impressive drive to start everything going on with this franchise. And you look at the weapons that he has. Obviously, Ray Rice is gone. They've tried to turn the page as quickly as they can, but a new offense with Gary Kubiak and with the tight ends and everything else, there's such potential for Flacco to have a monster year.
Yeah, I think this is an offense that's predicated on the use of the tight ends. Dennis Pitta, Owen Daniels, very pivotal to what they want to do on offense and throwing the football.
2nd and 10, they go play action again. Flacco over the middle, trying to locate Smith, incomplete. And that passing game dealing with this very tough secondary. Let's get an update. Send you to New York and James Brown.
Kirk Cousins, concise and accurate. Yeah, you're right about that. Kirk Cousins right here. 4-yard pass to Pierre Garçon for the touchdown. Kirk Cousins on the day, 12 of 13, 124 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He is balling today. Washington up 14-7.
I'm sure Spiro and Solomon would agree. That's sharp by any measurement. Spiro and Solomon.
Here, JB, Kirk Cousins, former Michigan State quarterback. We got one in our game here in Cleveland.
Good week for those guys. 3rd and 10. Kubiak staying conservative. Forsett, little bubble screen, picks up only 2, well short, and Baltimore will punt.
Oh, take a look at the tight coverage on the outside. Bust the screen. See, they switch it off. They sense the bubble screen, and bust the screen, appropriately named, plays it perfectly by coming off and making a tackle. Well played on the perimeter by the Cleveland Browns secondary.
Screen, the former 5th-round pick, 4th year in the NFL. Very quickly, Solomon has become one of the better slot corners in the NFL. Sam Cook on to punt it away. The former Pro Bowler, fair catch signaled by Benjamin, fumbles it. Has a little bit of an issue. Very sunny here. Falls on the football at the 30 after a 46-yard punt from Cook. Well, the NFL celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month in September. Earlier this month, the Browns leadership group, including team president Alex Shiner and GM Ray Farmer, joined some of their players to visit the Walton School, a predominantly Hispanic school here in Cleveland. Hear the stories of all the NFL by visiting NFL.com/Hispanic Heritage. Beautiful day here in Cleveland. Final official day of summer. And what a start for the Browns, up 7-3 in late stages, first quarter. This is 1st and 10. A pitch to the rookie West. Bounces to the outside across the 35. A pickup of 4 yards. What a moment last Sunday for Brian Hoyer. We've talked about him being a local kid here, coming back from the ACL tear, forced to win the job again against Johnny Manziel in the preseason. Such a significant and emotional moment for him to pull off that victory.
No, absolutely, because he's got to keep that guy, Johnny Manziel, standing on the sideline. And I asked him, what did he prove? He said he had already proved himself to his teammates by winning his 3 starts 1 year ago. But a game like last week, he said, did prove to the front office and his coaching staff that I can win games.
Little bubble screen, that's the rookie Taylor Gabriel making some guys miss. Across the 40, 11 yards and a first down for Cleveland. Tackle made by Suggs of that Baltimore defense. And here, a look at what Hoyer has done in his very brief run as Cleveland's starting quarterback.
Yeah, the key number is the 4 wins and 5 starts. I think that's the most significant part. And the fact that, he hasn't turned the ball over yet so far this year. Entered today's game with 130-plus consecutive pass attempts without throwing that interception. Already today, completing passes to 5 different receivers, showing that he can play at a high level. And I think the high football IQ allows him to go out and win games, Spiro, despite maybe not having that superior elite quarterback ability.
Hoyer living out his childhood dream, playing for his hometown team here. And he has him 1st and 10 from his own 46. Hoyer goes play action over the middle, off the hands of Austin. And now a late marker comes in again from the Ravens secondary.
Shockey Brown matched up. They're going to get him.
Pass interference, offense, number 19. 10-yard penalty, repeat first down.
What do you say? They're going to say that it was Miles Austin who pushed off on Shockey Brown, number 23. They were tied up beyond 5 yards. You saw there was some contact, but they're going to say that Miles Austin was the one who initiated the contact.
Austin a couple of critical receptions on 3rd down last Sunday on that final game-winning drive against the Saints, extending that drive and resulting in the game-winning field goal to knock off Breeze and the Saints. 1st and 20 after the penalty. Hoyer gives to West, cutting back, getting across the 40, and brought down at the 41. Another penalty marker on the field. 5-yard run by West is the call.
Number 75 offense. 10-yard penalty, repeat first down.
It's on the rookie Bitonio Lee. Go back to New York and an update with James Brown.
Spiro, I know Solomon would say, God, I would have taken that pick.
Yeah, right here, you're going to see Andy Dalton. He's going to pitch it to Mohamed Sanu. Look at this pass right, almost picked off, but Andy catches it, scampers for the 18-yard touchdown. Andy Dalton is doing it all. They're up 10-0. Mohamed Sanu, 4 of 4, 166 yards and 2 touchdowns for his career.
Spiro and Solomon.
Yeah, JB, you got to be able to steal that one, no doubt.
Spoken like a former DB, right? Here's Hoyer. Hard hit right after the catch. Hawkins buried 6 yards, but boy, did he pay the price against this Ravens secondary. Solomon, as we mentioned, getting Lardarius Webb back today. Webb, one of their leaders back there, didn't play a snap in the preseason, missed their first 2 games with that lower back injury.
Yeah, and Andrew Hawkins, 5'7", 175 pounds, maybe small in stature, but boy, does he play big coming over in free agency for the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, his emergence, boy, comes at a critical time. We know about the suspension with Josh Gordon. That suspension reduced with the new drug policy. We'll talk about that as the afternoon goes on. End of one, 7-3. Cleveland will return to Cleveland after these messages. You're watching the NFL on CBS. (7-3) Browns as we welcome you back to Cleveland. First play, started the second quarter, 2nd and 24. After a couple of penalties, Hoyer from the shotgun. Over the middle, it's caught. Austin atoning for that prior penalty. Across midfield, picks up 20 and inches closer to that first down tackle made by Darian Stewart.
Great courage by Miles Austin. Here he is in the slot, going into the teeth of the defense in front of safety Matt Elam. He knows he's going to take a shot, and he does. And then he absorbs it and then inches closer to that first down marker, but just a courageous catch. He knew he was going to take the hit.
Signed with Cleveland after an 8-year run in Dallas. This is 3rd and 3 from the 46. Hoyer looking left, rolls right, has time, nowhere to go, trying to lunge forward. Needed to get to the 44. Looks like he's about 1.5 yards short. Haloti Ngata, a guy at his size, Solomon, moves as well as any defensive lineman in the NFL.
How quick is he and nimble to be his size at 6'4", 340, but well defended on that play by the Baltimore Ravens.
Ngata says he's a little bit leaner, down to 340. Disappointing season ago, just a sack and a half after recording 5+ each of the 3 years prior. Spencer Lanning, the second-year punter out of South Carolina, and Lardarius Webb, as we mentioned, making his season debut today. Back deep, signals fair catch. They're unable to down it inside the 5. It takes a Ravens bounce, and they'll have it at the 20 when we come back. 7-3, you're watching the NFL on CBS. Thursday, your football week starts here. It's a bitter rivalry between the Giants and the Redskins in the NFC East. Another big-time matchup in prime time. Thursday Night Football on NFL Network and CBS. Spiro, Dita, Solomon, Wilcox, our entire CBS crew. This is Lorenzo Taliaferro. Plenty of real estate inside Cleveland territory. And that'll quiet down this sellout crowd of nearly 70,000. Taliaferro, the rookie, burns him for 31.
It's right off the right side of this offensive line. Look here. And then he gets to the second level, and Dante Whitner has to slow play this one in order to get him on the ground. Look, gaping hole over to the right side of their offensive line, left side of the defense, and can't say enough about the job done by Dante Whitner just to get him on the ground.
So no Bernard Pierce out with a thigh injury today. We thought it would be Forsett the workhorse, but so far it's been this guy, Taliaferro, who Solomon before today did not have a single carry over the first 2 weeks.
He's a fourth-round pick out of Coastal Carolina, coming in 6 feet, 230 pounds. So he's a load, but you can also see the quickness he has of being able to get to the second level. He came smoking through that hole, and that was another good run play, getting around the left side, picked up maybe 8 yards on the play.
And look at his numbers, 56 yards on only 5 attempts. Gives Flacco a chance now on second and short from the Browns' 41. This is Forsett. And some gaping holes opened up against that defensive front of Cleveland. And this is what the Ravens, Solomon, could not do last season with that decimated offensive line.
Yeah, they hit an all-time low 1 year ago, ranking 30th in the National Football League during the 2013 season. But you can see their run game had been in decline for quite some time. And now Gary Kubiak comes in. I think his system does as good a job as any at getting the runner to the second level of the defense. It's coordinated with the blocking up front.
This is a 1st and 10 play. Forsett dumps in the backfield. Excellent play by Screen coming up from his cornerback position to get Forsett for a loss of 2.
And how about this? You know, Gary Kubiak comes over and he installs a system, the same system that Kyle Shanahan has installed.
That's right.
With the Cleveland Browns offense. And Gary Kubiak had been the head coach with the Houston Texans. Kyle Shanahan had been his offensive coordinator. They both grew up in Mike Shanahan's, Kyle's dad, in that system with the Denver Broncos. So both teams running the ball identically here today.
A lot of symmetry between these two systems, you're right, as Pitta makes the catch, brought down right after the reception at the 35-yard line. Marker comes in. A lot of penalties so far. It's a 4-yard catch. Now the call for
Prior to the
leaving.
pass, holding, number 22 defense. 5-yard penalty, previous spot, automatic first down.
That's against Screen. Solomon again, as I said earlier, it's just a different NFL. Very, very difficult for these defensive backs.
Mike Pettin, a former defensive back coach himself, during training camp when they had problems, as you can take a look at the bottom of the screen, they had the defensive backs practice with boxing gloves just to keep them from grabbing jerseys like what you saw right there for Buster Screen.
Already 5 penalties against Cleveland. 1st and 10 inside the 35. Here's Taliaferro, the big bruising rookie. Again, drafted in the 4th round. We told you he led the preseason in rushing. Gave him a real strong look, knowing that Ray Rice was initially going to be suspended for 2 games. Now, of course, everything changes, and now Taliaferro could be a guy that gets some good run here because, again, Pierce has had some durability issues.
Well, and I can tell you right now, Taliaferro looks impressive running for Gary Kubiak. He's dialing up plays, trying to stay balanced in the offense. See the rushing comparison right now. Baltimore Ravens winning that battle big time.
4-yard run sets up a 2nd and 6. Kruger coming on the blitz from the edge, able to make the tackle from the back. Excellent play by Kruger, but not before Taliaferro gets him down to the 21-yard line. And another Ravens first down after a run of 7.
Another synergy between both teams as you take a look at the former Baltimore Raven now playing for the Browns and Paul Kruger. You know, both coaches have taught their team, we want to build a bully. Mike Pettin, who had coached in Baltimore, has come here to Cleveland preaching that motto. John Harbaugh has always wanted his team to be the most physical. And right now, it's the Baltimore Ravens who are winning the physical battle at the line of scrimmage.
And look at the play calling. 6 plays, all runs, make it 7. 1st and 10, Taliaferro. And that Cleveland defense right now on its heels. Barkevius Mingo, who is a question mark today with a shoulder injury, makes the tackle, but not after a pickup of 5.
No, both offensive lines, I think that's what you got to do. If you're going to play Spiro inside the AFC North Division, you better be good up front in the offensive line. You better be able to run the football, and because it's a physical division. The Baltimore Ravens know that all too well. You can see they want to assert themselves here today on the road in Cleveland.
Keep in mind, this is a very well-rested Ravens team. 9 days since their Week 2 win against the Steelers. Taliaferro again. They've yet to pass on this drive. Ravens needing to get to the 11 for the first down. Clock continues to run. We're inside of 9 minutes. And so far, both of these offenses have been getting up and down the field.
Well, you're talking about just imposing the wheel. That's what, John Harbaugh, Gary Kubiak, 8 consecutive run plays on this drive. That's saying, hey, we're coming into your house and we're going to run the football and we're going to win the physical battle. If you're the Cleveland Browns defensively, you've got to dig in and come up with a stop.
Third straight divisional game for the Ravens to open the season. Critical 3rd and 1. Taliaferro stonewalled initially, but so thick. 6 feet, 226 pounds, picks up 3 and a first down.
Craig Robertson, 53. Paul Kruger, they get some initial penetration, but look at him. He stays on his feet. Look at leg driving. He's knocking the defenders for the Cleveland Browns back. And rarely do you see that with a rookie running back, but he's a load at 230, getting movement to pick up the first down.
Oh, you hear it all the time. This is a next man up league. Taliaferro getting a chance today with Pierce down. So far, very impressive. First and goal. First pass of the drive. It's a touchdown. Kyle Juszczyk, the fullback and first-year starter, put the Ravens back in front.
Juszczyk, they don't normally throw it to him, but he's wide open. They were all in tune to Justin Forsett. See, Forsett goes here, but Juszczyk comes here, and he's the guy that's wide open. See, they drop coverage. The end man on the line of scrimmage is usually the guy responsible. Barkevious Mingo, 51. He went rushing into the quarterback and dropped his assignment for any running back coming out to his side of the field.
Justin Tucker, first-time Pro Bowler a season ago, tacks on the extra point. And a back-and-forth start between these two franchises, forever intertwined. Kyle Juszczyk with a score, 10-7 Ravens on CBS.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by the United States Marine Corps, the few, the proud, the Marines. DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you gotta get DirecTV. And by AT&T, mobilizing your world.
Ravens go 10 plays, 80 yards, 9-yard touchdown reception, and a first career touchdown for the second-year fullback out of Harvard, Kyle Juszczyk. So 10-7 after Cleveland took the lead. Ravens answer. Marlon Moore from deep in his own end zone scurries out past the 20, across the 25, and brought down at the 26. Now, which of these two defenses could start to stiffen up? Impressive offense so far. And it's a 3-point lead for the Ravens on CBS. (10-7) Ravens. 7 and change left to play. Second quarter. Spiro Ditas, Solomon Wilcots. You see the balanced play calling so far from the 34-year-old offensive coordinator Kyle Shanahan. First year calling the plays here for the Browns. 1st and 10, Hoyer from the gun. They mark it at the 25. Pump fakes once, throws near side. It's caught. Austin has been targeted multiple times in this first half. Tackle made by Asa Jackson after a pickup of 5. We go back to the Ravens touchdown.
Before you rush the quarterback, you've got to be able to follow your assignment. Here's Juszczyk coming out, and Barkevious Mingo is supposed to be in coverage. Instead, he goes underneath to rush the quarterback. He's the end man on the line of scrimmage, and he's got to follow his assignment. See, he's supposed to peel and takes Juszczyk out in the backfield. He doesn't, and leaves him wide open for a touchdown.
Here's Crowell, the other rookie, as part of that first-year tandem. Lunges forward across the 30, out to the 36, 8 yards, and a first down. Tackle made by C.J. Mosley.
One thing I know, we've got some talented rookie running backs playing in this game today. That's Isaiah Crowell. He's averaging, look who comes in, another rookie who can run it.
Johnny Manziel, 3 plays in relief of Hoyer. Little change-up look here on 1st and 10. Crowell cutting back It was interesting last week. Brian Hoyer admitted publicly to the media that he was a little miffed that Manziel was inserted, kind of altered the rhythm a little bit, but they like this. They want their opposing team to have to devote practice time to this package during the week.
Well, they want to be able to provide a spark mainly for their offense.
Wide open throw down the field. It's Manziel. Penalty markers are flying down as they fooled everyone on that play. 37 yards with a
Illegal
penalty.
shift. 28 offense. Came in and was not set prior to the snap. 5-yard penalty. Repeat second down.
They're going to call Terrence West.
Sally, look at this play here. Manziel is on the field there, and Shanahan giving him the signal of when to break out into his route.
He's wide open. Yeah, it looked like he was just talking to the coaches. He had his back to the formation. Didn't even know they snapped the ball. The coach said, okay, now you can go run your route. Terrence West had an illegal shift. And there you see, he's at the top of the screen right here. He's going to go down and watch when they snap it. Shanahan said, okay, take off. It comes back.
The running back was not set, so the illegal formation negates a brilliant play call from Shanahan and even better execution between Hoyer and Manziel.
Well designed by Kyle Shanahan. Well executed, but the rookie running back out of position.
We already saw a quarterback catch a touchdown today with Cincinnati and Andy Dalton. 2nd and 16, Hoyer, back foot throw, it's West. Makes the first guy miss. Cuts back, brought down across the 30-yard line. Tackle made by Pernell McPhee, the backup outside linebacker out of Mississippi State.
Yeah, let's go ahead and take another look at it. There's Johnny Manziel. See, this is, of course, rehearsed, practiced, timed up, executed well over on the sidelines. You see Shanahan say, go, go.
Obviously, that's Academy Award winning.
That's awesome.
Between Shanahan, his coaches behind him, and Manziel. Boy, did they sell it well. Unfortunately, they had the illegal formation penalty. 3rd and 17. Pocket collapses. Hoyer finds West. Needed to get way out to the 49. Well short. C.J. Mosley on the tackle. And that penalty comes back to haunt the Browns. They will punt after a pickup of 7.
I want to go back to the pass play over to Johnny Manziel. You know what really sold it? It appeared to be there was a substitution as Hoyer came back on the field. Looked like Johnny was leaving the field, but he did it. He stopped over on the sideline. They set it up very well.
There's Shanahan, the 34-year-old offensive coordinator. 4 years under Gary Kubiak in Houston before leaving to join his father in Washington. There's a long history between he and Kubiak, who promoted him at the age of 29 to be the Texans offensive coordinator in Houston. Spencer Lanning's punt. Fair catch signaled by Jones, and that one takes a bounce. Out of bounds right around the 20. 42-yard punt. As we get our first look at Johnny Manziel, had everyone fooled, but the penalty comes back to bite him. Timeout.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Microsoft Surface, the official tablet of the NFL, and by Quicken Loans, for a mortgage experience that's engineered to amaze.
Final official day of summer. Temperatures right around 70 degrees here in Cleveland at kickoff. 1st and 10, Ravens up 3. Joe Flacco and his offense onto the field. 1st and 10 from inside their own 20. Justin Forsett, the 7th-year runner, meeting a wall of Cleveland defenders at the line of scrimmage. Tomorrow's the night for the Big Bang Theory season premiere. Don't miss 2 new back-to-back episodes on its new night tomorrow, 8/7 Central, only CBS. Ravens opening drive to start the game resulted in a field goal. Then Cleveland took the lead 7-3 on a touchdown. And then Kyle Juszczyk, the 9-yard touchdown reception from Flacco. And that's where we sit. 10-7. 2nd and long. This is Pitta. Stumbles right after the catch. And it looks like Pitta may be hurt. A guy that they can just ill afford to lose. We mentioned the dislocation, fractured hip that limited him to just 4 games last season, and Pitta is in a lot of pain.
Something just gave out while he was running. No one tackled him. No one hit him. And he appears to be injured on the play right there.
Injured Raven player is tight end Dennis Pitta. Looks like they're looking at his right leg. Solomon, obviously we don't want to speculate. The hip that he injured last year with the fracture and dislocation was the right one. And it appears to be the same leg that they're looking at here. And now obvious concern on that Raven sideline for a guy who is one of the key cogs to this offense with Flacco.
Yeah, and we spoke with him yesterday about that injury he suffered 1 year ago. See, no one hits him. He's running. He's trying to run, and literally something gave out there.
Looked like it may have been some in that last plant.
Yeah.
As he was coming down.
It's too hard to tell from looking at these pictures what happened, when it happened, or where physically the injury may have occurred. Don't want to guess that, but we did talk with him yesterday about the hip injury that he sustained 1 year ago. And he just talked about, you know, how happy he was to be back healthy and back with this football team, and talked about the long, grueling process of rehabbing from that hip injury 1 year ago.
Was on crutches for 2 months, was unable to put any weight on that leg. Was able to come back, play the final 4 games of the season. They gave him a lucrative contract extension, 5 years, and very well deserved in the offseason.
And this is a player I really enjoyed covering since he's come into the league. I remember him in that 2012 run to a Super Bowl championship. It was he and Anquan Bolden. And then, of course, you look at Jacoby Jones, who had that epic touchdown catch in Denver on the road in that playoff game. These guys really played well around Joe Flacco, who had 11 touchdowns, no interceptions in that postseason run. And Dennis Pitta was a huge part of it. He's very close with his quarterback and very close with his teammates with the Baltimore Ravens.
Pitta probably Flacco's closest friend on the team. And what an emotional couple of weeks it's been for Flacco. Of course, his other good buddy Ray Rice having to watch as that saga has unfolded. And now Pitta strapped to the board. We'll try to get an update as quickly as we can. And a nice gesture from these Cleveland fans as a Flacco and company, as if they haven't had enough to deal with Solomon psychologically. We'll try to block out this very difficult vision of one of their top offensive stars being carted off the field.
And this is what it's about, you know, football players who put their heart and soul and coming out and playing the game that they love, trying to win for their football team, for the fans in their respective cities. And this kid has put a lot into his profession. We only can wish him the best and happy healing for Dennis Pitta.
Pitta in his 5th season and a BYU, the former 4th-round pick. As good as he's been early in his career, there was a thought that this was going to really be a breakout season for the young man. Gary Kubiak's offensive system utilizing those 2 tight ends, and now Pitta carted off the field. Late stages first half. Owen Daniels will come in for Pitta at the tight end on a critical 3rd and 10. Flacco over the middle, wide open is Smith. First down and a lot more. Exactly the kind of play that they needed in that moment. Joe Hayden finally the tackle, but not before they pick up 25.
You know, these plays are well designed. He was lined up at the top with Smith, Torrey Smith. Watch him come underneath. You know, they may want to call that, and maybe not. But it was clear he picked up a little pick, a little screening off Joe Hayden, who's been doing a wonderful job of defending against Steve Smith one-on-one.
First catch for Smith. You see what he did last week in the win over the Steelers. Flacco on first down. Inside Cleveland territory, that's Marlon Brown with his first reception of the season. 16 yards and back-to-back first down passes.
Yeah, he's going to be matched up. Look, bust the screen. There's a little push-off right there, but it's within 5 yards. He's able to get underneath and get separation from Buster Screen. The last possession, there was a lot of running by the Baltimore Ravens. On this one, it's Joe Flacco in the passing game.
2-minute warning. You're watching the NFL on CBS. A Baltimore drive that started at their own 19-yard line. 5th play here. 1st and 10. This is Taliaferro getting to the edge. Picks up a couple. Ataba Rubin from his nose tackle position over for the tackle. Coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report, we'll send you to New York. JV, Tony, Bart Boomer, and Coach Cowher We'll take you around the NFL in Week 3, scores and highlights, as well as a preview of Thursday Night Football coming up on CBS and NFL Network on the Verizon Halftime Report. Ravens officials telling us a moment ago that it is indeed the right hip of Dennis Pitta that they're looking at. Same hip that he fractured and dislocated last season, limiting him to the final 4 games of the year. 2nd and 8. Blitz coming. Flacco wrapped up, set, and finally gets it out to Forsett. What a play just to get it out of his hands. Dangerous decision. Forsett bear hugged immediately. It was Robertson coming up on the pressure. They lose 10.
It's the A-gap blitz. He times it up perfectly. Watch it here. And he comes right up the gut. Watch him go get into that A-gap on this side of the ball. Look, he's able to get around Forsett, still haul it in. And how about Flacco saying, I'm not taking a sack. I'm still going to get the completion on the play, but for no gain to Justin Forsett.
So after the 2 long first down pass plays, you see the time remaining, under 40 seconds. Ravens have all 3 timeouts, but the play clock is down. They'll have to burn one here. And they will indeed a 3rd and 17. What will Kubiak dial up here? Late first half in a 3-point game. Well, Browns fans haven't had much to cheer about the last couple of years, certainly buoyed by their comfort behind win over the Saints last Sunday. Making them presence heard here. 3rd and 17. Flacco from the gun. Over the middle. It is caught well short, about 11 yards of the first down marker, caught by Forsett. And it will be 4th and long here. Another reminder, the Verizon Halftime Report comes your way momentarily. JB, Tony, Bart, Boomer, and Coach Cowher standing by in our New York studios. The Verizon Halftime Report comes your way next. Timeout taken by Cleveland here. Solomon wanting to get themselves set. Looks like, at least for the moment, Flacco and his offense onto the field. What's Kubiak thinking here?
You know, really, I think it's a battle of field position, because right now they're out of field goal range, and obviously you can go ahead and pick up the first down here. What you can't do if you're Joe Flacco is you can't take a sack. They want to probably take a look at it, buying a little time to see if this is actually a completion here. But I got to believe you punt the football in this position, if indeed it will be 4th and 11.
Another look at the catch here by Forsett. Now looks like the field goal unit, Solomon, is going to come onto the field. Justin Tucker, the 3rd-year kicker, first-time Pro Bowler last season. And he is going to attempt a 59-yard field goal.
Wow, and the wind is at his back. Joe Hayden is under the goalpost just in case it falls short, Spiro.
Last season, career highs for Tucker, 38 makes, 41 attempts. At one point, it hit 33 straight. Last season, en route to his first Pro Bowl selection. Cox, the snapper.
Yeah.
Cook, the holder, trying to draw him off. They won't.
And they're going to punt it.
And they will punt it. They'll just deal with the penalty yardage.
Coach Harbaugh had me afraid, because I thought that was the move to go with, is to punt it, because it's about field position right here. I really firmly believe that. You can't give Cleveland the ball at midfield if you miss the field goal, or if you try to go for it on 4th down. That's why Joe Hayden was standing under the goalpost. He was going to try to return it if indeed they did try to attempt that long field goal.
Now, we've seen Harbaugh roll the dice in the past, but not that time, not with Cleveland still holding a timeout. As Sam Cook, the former Pro Bowl alternate, on to boot it away. Jim Leonard will watch it take a Cleveland bounce into the end zone. That'll take us to the 20-second mark. Browns do have 1 timeout left. Solomon, you take the shot here, or you just take a knee and go into the locker room?
Well, I think, you know, obviously you try to get some kind of shot. You never know what can happen. But indeed, if nothing happens, in other words, no big play comes out of it, then you go ahead and take it in at the half. But with 20 seconds left, I got to believe they're going to try to run a play and try to get a completion maybe over the middle of the field and get down for a quick timeout.
One thing to keep in mind, Cleveland will have the football to start the second half. That could also weigh into their decision here. One timeout left, 20 seconds left. Hoyer, they'll keep it on the ground to West. Across the 20, picks up about 5. And the first half is intense as you'd think between these longtime division rivals. Dennis Pitta, injured hip. Obvious concern on the Ravens sideline. A 3-point lead for the visitors as we reach halftime.
It's going to be a tough, heavyweight fight. It's going to go down to the end in the AFC North Division. Two teams that are very similar in styles. We say styles make fight. This is going to be a pretty good one as we go into the second half.
Browns looking for a second straight win after a dramatic come-from-behind win over Drew Brees and the Saints a week ago today. And this well-rested Ravens team playing its 3rd consecutive divisional game to open the season on the road here in Cleveland. 10-7 your score at halftime. We'll be back with the Verizon Halftime Report after this message and a word from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS. It's been intense, it's been physical, everything you'd anticipate from these two division rivals, two franchises forever intertwined. 10-7 your score, Baltimore in front. Welcome back to our booth, the NFL on CBS here in Week 3. Spiro Dedes and Solomon Wilcots. These are two teams that are looking for big early season wins. Cleveland looking to build off what they did last week. What do the Browns need to do to win what would be a very critical early season game?
Well, they first of all need to be able to stop the run. They need to slam the door shut on the Baltimore Ravens' ability to run the football. Already 90 yards rushing for the Baltimore Ravens in the first half. If you're Cleveland, you got to be able to slam the door shut.
All right, let's take a look at some of the highlights in that first half. Our DirecTV Ultimate Picture Cam. Kyle Juszczyk, first career touchdown for the fullback in his 2nd year out of Harvard from Joe Flacco. And that is where we sit at this point, 10-7, as Brian Hoyer and the Cleveland Browns will have it to start the second half. Spiro Dedes, Solomon Wilcots, our entire CBS crew. With about as good a playing conditions as you could hope for in Cleveland. Final official day of summer. And we are underway in the second half in front of a sellout crowd of nearly 70,000 here in Cleveland. Tucker's kick booms to the back of the end zone as Hoyer and company will take it from the 20. Solomon, to look at the first half numbers.
Well, we talked about the rushing yards. I think it's paramount because it's adding balance to the Baltimore Ravens offense, something they want. They're being very good on 3rd down, but when you can dominate the line of scrimmage and run the ball the way that the Baltimore Ravens have, particularly when you go on the road, it allows you to be able to come into hostile territory, win a ball game, and not put it all on the shoulders of your quarterback, Joe Flacco.
Everything that man and this franchise have had to deal with the last couple of weeks. More bad news on Dennis Pitta. Their starting tight end, he has been taken to a local area hospital. Obviously will not return. They're looking at the same right hip that he fractured and dislocated last year. That's Andrew Hawkins getting the party started here with a pickup of 4 yards, but an enormous loss for the Ravens offense.
We talked about the pivotal role that the tight ends play in Gary Kubiak's offense. John Harbaugh knows that it's going to be Dennis Pitta. Steve Smith's going to have to stand up, and Torrey Smith is going to have to win more of his battles on the outside on the perimeter.
Torrey Smith just 1 catch today, 5 catches over the first 2.5 games. That is Isaiah Crowell, a rookie runner out of Alabama State, undrafted, has gotten his way here the hard way. Started his collegiate career at the University of Georgia. The 2011 SEC Freshman of the Year, dismissed from that university after an arrest on felony weapons charges. But boy, has he found a home here after what's been a brilliant 2-game run to start his NFL career. 3rd and 5. Man in motion is Hawkins. Hoyer throws, completes far side to Hawkins, the 4th-year wideout. Their leading receiver over the first 2 weeks. Tackle made by Jackson and a Cleveland first down.
I'll tell you what, I am impressed with Andrew Hawkins. Look, not just in separation, but the ability to haul this one in with Asa Jackson draped all over him. The tough, small, but really big-time playmaker in Andrew Hawkins comes over from Cincinnati in free agency and making a play for his quarterback, Brian Hoyer.
Crowell has been the runner on this opening drive of the second half. Takes the pitch on first down, bounces inside across the 35 and brought down out past the 40 by Haloti Ngata after a run of a dozen.
You know, both teams, we talk about the same running system in terms of scheme and design. And take a look at it. He's going to hit it right here. It's just a really good play. His ability to sync it up with the offensive line. See, nice kick out block by the fullback, Ray Agnew, and then get to the second level. The team that can run the ball the most effectively here in the second half probably going to be the team to win the ball game.
See the rushing yards early in the second half. Crowell again unable to get to the edge. Tackle made by the middle linebacker, Darryl Smith. Well, for those that just joined us, we did see Johnny Manziel for one play in the first half. There was a marker thrown on what was an illegal formation. We spoke to our officiating expert at halftime, Mike Carey, and he says that Cleveland should have been penalized for what he said, some trickery on play.
Yeah, and take a look because, see, here's Johnny Manziel right there. And according to Mike Carey, he said that you can't hide out as a substitute to deceive the opponent, that you can't be 5 yards from the sideline within the coaching box. And so clearly he had his back to the field, and apparently, according to Mike Carey, you also have to have your shoulders parallel to the line of scrimmage if you're going to line up as a wide receiver. So take a look right here. He's well within 5 yards of the sideline, and he's right within that coaching box as well. Now, they did call a penalty because Terrence West wasn't set when the ball was snapped, but according to Mike Carey, it's a deceptive play, and according to the rules of that wide receiver, look, his shoulders aren't parallel to the line of scrimmage. He's too close to the coaching box within that 5 yards of the sideline. So in a number of ways, that play was very deceptive and against the rules.
Just to run that play in the schoolyard. This is the other rookie wide receiver, Taylor Gabriel. Interesting story. First-year man out of Abilene Christian.
I want to go back to that play because that just goes to show you why we need a Mike Carey.
Well, that's why we love having Mike Carey.
That one's buried deep in the playbook, so deep that even Kyle Shanahan, the offensive coordinator for the Browns, didn't know that that was against the rules.
And that's a play, Solomon, that's a good point. You know, we got a chuckle out of it, but that's a play that they were working on during the course of the week, so you wonder what their understanding was of the rule. Obviously something that...
that's graduate level stuff.
You're right. 3rd and 6, big play early in the second half. It's caught by Hawkins again. Stutter stepping inside the 20, making 40-yard line after a pickup of 24 yards. Tackle made by Webb and Matt Elam.
Andrew Hawkins, look, he's in the slot. He's going to run that out, stop and out route. Look, they cannot stay with him. He is phenomenal. Exploding out of his break against arguably the best quarterback for the Ravens in Ladarius Webb. Look, Webb's not moving well at all. He had a leg injury. He's had some back issues as well. He missed all the preseason. He can't stay with the likes of Andrew Hawkins.
Terrence West, lone setback, 1st and 10 on the 8th play of the drive. West cutting back, takes a hard hit inside the 30, brought down at the 28. Look at C.J. Mosley, little swipe with the face of Mack. Well, a young man, the first-year linebacker who the Ravens and John Harbaugh are very, very high on. Feel that this kid's going to be a star. Very mild-mannered kid. That time just lost his composure.
Yeah, he might have been goaded into that one. He is a talented middle linebacker out of Alabama. We spoke with him yesterday. Very mild-mannered, very professional when we met with him. But watch number 57 taking a swipe.
After the play was over, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 57 defense. Half the distance to the goal, automatic first down.
Wow. Big unnecessary roughness, another 15 yards. Look at 57 right there. See now, the blow to the face of Mack, who feigned maybe just a little bit, but nonetheless, C.J. Mosley's got to keep his composure.
Mosley, only the 2nd middle linebacker that the Ravens have ever drafted in the 1st round. The only other being, of course, Ray Lewis. And now the penalties starting to hurt the Ravens. Half the distance, they line up inside the 15. It's Crowell, near side end zone, touchdown!
This kid is spectacular. He's big, he's strong. He's able to get the cutback. He plays off Courtney Upshaw, and he's able to take a look at it. He's going to come here, and then he gets right underneath Courtney Upshaw. See, and Upshaw gets too far up the field, and Crowell read it perfectly on the kick-out block, coming underneath to get to the end zone.
Crowell had 2 rushing touchdowns in his NFL debut in the opening day loss in Pittsburgh. That one from 14 yards out. And this rookie running back tandem that has been an absolute revelation, putting the Cleveland Browns back in front. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Nine plays, 80 yards. Brian Hoyer marches him down the field, and that young kid, the workhorse, 6 carries, 38 yards on that drive, an average of over 6 per rush. Banged it in from 14 yards out, and the Browns back in front in what has been a highly charged physical game here, 14-10. Oh, with NFL Now, you can access the biggest NFL video library on the planet. Select your favorite teams or players, and NFL Now delivers non-stop videos on your favorite device. Get NFL Now free at NFL.com/now. Former Raven Billy Cundiff boots it through the end zone, and the Ravens will have it at the 20. Isaiah Crowell, the 21-year-old who they hope will be a star, into the end zone from 14 yards. 4-point lead for Cleveland.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Without a heart, it's just a machine. McDonald's, official sponsor of the NFL. I'm loving it. And by the Lincoln Motor Company and the first ever MKC.
Third lead change. Now the Ravens have it from their own 20, down 4. At the 10-minute mark of the third quarter, here's Juszczyk, had the first down, touchdown catch. A lot of yardage here up the sideline, inside Cleveland territory. 32 yards. Big first down hookup. Tackle made by Joe Hayden.
Oh, here's a guy, I'm telling you right now, here he is right here. He's just going to go right back out, fake like he's going to block, but then see checks on the tight end screen. He lined up at tight end with Dennis Pitta out. Juszczyk is a guy who can catch it out of the backfield. Already has 1 touchdown reception on the day and another big one here on the catch and run from the tight end position.
Well, Juszczyk, who is a bit marginalized with the play of Pitta and Daniels over the first couple of weeks, suddenly becomes a bigger role player now with the injury to Pitta as Torrey Smith makes the catch. And Sally, with them running the football as effectively as they have, the play action now is just so much more dangerous, isn't it?
Because this Cleveland Brown defense, even at the secondary level, they've got to respect the way the Baltimore Ravens were able to pound the running game in the first half as they come inching up to the line of scrimmage. Gary Kubiak goes play action. Juszczyk is listed as a fullback, but he's got tight end abilities in his first year out of Harvard.
Man in motion was Jacoby Jones, was second and short. The rookie Taliaferro. He has been an absolute man-child in this game today. 9 yards and another Baltimore first down.
But the block by Juszczyk, we saw he's a do-it-all kind of guy because Taliaferro, he's going to follow the fullback who can change the line of scrimmage. Watch this block right here. Bam! And open the door to get Taliaferro to the second level. You love those Swiss Army knife, those blue-collar guys who can do it all.
Before today, Taliaferro had not had a rushing attempt over the first 2 games. Today, as markers whistle the play dead, Taliaferro, 12 rushes for 90 yards.
Number 81 offense. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Those rookie running backs are growing on trees.
Oh, yeah, Lorenzo Taliaferro, 12 rushing attempts, 90 yards rushing in the game. This kid is taking it to the next level. He's had a long run of 31 yards in the game, and when he creased him, he's a load at 230. So he's joining those 2 rookie running backs for the Cleveland Browns. He's making his presence known.
First and 15 after the penalty. He goes deep. Flacco off the sideline. It's caught inside the 25. Again, it's Juszczyk. 12-yard pass play. Ravens need to get to just outside the 21 for the first down.
Now this kid, he's making plays. They're lining him up at tight end. Now see, watch how he'll work. Once they scramble, see, everyone wants to go deep, but he breaks his off, finds a nice little comfortable area underneath the zone, the Cleveland Browns secondary, and Flacco finds him.
Juszczyk, another local kid, grew up in this area. A lot of local flavor in this game today. 2nd and 3. We come up on 7 minutes left in the quarter. We keep it on the ground with Taliaferro. And we had, the Ravens a couple of weeks ago on opening day. The offense struggled. Flacco didn't have chemistry. The early drops to Steve Smith. Boy, how far that they have come, Solomon, in just a couple of weeks.
And they fell behind in that game. 76% of their plays called that day by Gary Kubiak were pass plays. Flacco attempted over 60 pass attempts in that game, and it really hurt them. They got out of whack. They started chasing it. Today, you can see the remaining balance. They're running the football. You got a mix of good play action. That's when this offense is operating at a high level.
Big 3rd and 1 play here. With a pitch play, it's Dorsett. First down and more. 10, 5, lunges end zone. They say he is short of the goal line, about a yard plus short. What a play call by Kubiak. 21 yards. It'll be 1st and goal.
See, it's another play action. Watch, everyone goes this way, and then Jabal Sheard, he goes, and he should be having Justin Forsett coming out of the backfield. But watch 97. He gets sucked in, and too late. You lose containment on the football, and Forsett's able to get there. Now, that's because they set up the dominant, productive run plays earlier in the game, and it's got Cleveland defenders fighting every which way.
A lot of flags in this game. That one coming from the back end of the end
12
zone.
on the defensive team. Half the distance to the goal, first down.
So 12 men on the field, an illegal substitution against Mike Pettin and the Browns.
They want to see if he got in. Kind of tough to tell. See, knee on the ground almost just before the ball touches that pylon.
So they mark it inside the 1. 1st and goal after the penalty. Taliaferro, offset eye. It's Flacco on a keeper. Lunges, 2nd effort. No signal yet. He's short. So the Browns defense holds. 2nd and goal with inches to go.
Take a look, see if they get movement up front on the offensive line. More white jerseys stacking up, not getting the push that the Ravens offensive line thought they would get. Even the 6'6" Joe Flacco can't get it over, gets knocked back into his own backfield.
Well, the last time Flacco faced a Mike Pettin coach defense last season, threw 5 picks as of knocking on the door here. Another penalty marker comes flying, and now a red challenge flag has been thrown out, it looks like, from the Baltimore sideline.
Baltimore's challenged the previous play that the ball did cross the goal line.
They dropped the red flag on the run by Joe Flacco. So that play won't count. They go back to this play to see if they actually got in with Flacco running the ball. Did he break the plane of the goal line? We'll tell you when we come back.
After reviewing the play, the ruling on the field stands. Baltimore will be charged their first time out.
All right, let's bring in our officiating expert here at CBS, Mike Carey. Mike, take us through that last play and final ruling.
Spiro, I think this is a mistake. Great challenge by Baltimore because their quarterback progress was never stopped, and as you freeze it right at the goal line, the shot is right down the goal line. You can see the ball breaking the plane. That should be a touchdown.
Wide, Mike Carey. Let's see if it comes back to bite them here. 2nd and goal. It's Taliaferro. It's a moot point as the bruising first-year runner gives us our 4th lead change of the day. Ravens back in front.
Well, they have been doing this pretty much all day. The offensive line dominating. Look, they get movement right there. And then Juszczyk, he can change the line of scrimmage. Right there on the kick-out block by Barkevious Mingo. And then they walk in right behind. They loaded up on that right side, bringing everything they had to slam Taliaferro into the end zone for the touchdown.
8 plays, 80 yards. Lorenzo Taliaferro who the casual NFL fan had never heard of before today, putting himself on the map. Tucker's point after makes it 17-14 in what has been an awfully entertaining divisional battle. Baltimore and Cleveland continues on CBS.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by T-Mobile and by Voya Financial, changing the way you think of retirement.
8 plays, 80 yards. As these two offenses just marching up and down the field. There's Lorenzo Taliaferro. Workhorse today for Gary Kubiak and John Harbaugh. No Bernard Pierce out with a thigh injury. And now let's get you the wisdom of Solomon here in week 3.
Well, former Michigan State quarterbacks dominated week 2 in the National Football League. Started in our nation's capital when Kirk Cousins filled in for RG3. Came up with a huge win. Drew Stanton replaced Carson Palmer. Went to the Big Apple and beat Eli Manning and the Giants. And then Brian Hoyer, right here in Cleveland, out-dueled Drew Brees. Look at all 3 of the Michigan State former quarterbacks. And then Nick Foles, remember? He transferred from Michigan State to Arizona when he couldn't beat out Kirk Cousins. He also got a win on Monday night against Indianapolis.
First and 10, Hoyer's going to go play action over the middle. Wide open is his man. It's Hawkins inside Baltimore territory, just over the 50, 30 yards. Darryl Smith making a very difficult tackle from the back.
Andrew Hawkins is too tough to cover, even for Asa Jackson in space. Look, he's going to make this catch and it spins out of it. And if not for Darryl Smith already in pursuit who catches him from behind, he may go for a touchdown. He was huge on that game-winning drive 1 week ago against New Orleans.
70 yards receiving in the last 2 games. He's done it in back-to-back games now for the first time in his career. Isaiah Crowell looking for more. Gashes the Ravens defense up the sideline. First down and a lot more. Forced out of bounds by Nutter. 22-yard run for Crowell.
He's been coached by the best. Wilbur Montgomery. This guy is a running back maker. I'm going to tell you right now, he coached in Baltimore when we saw the running backs there emerge when they won a Super Bowl championship. And what he's done with the rookies here in Cleveland, and Terrence West and Isaiah Crowell, when I talked to him in the preseason, he told me these 2 guys would be good. They've been better than that.
Well, that time the Ravens defense not fooled, and look who it is. Terrell Suggs, the former Defensive Player of the Year, 6-time Pro Bowler, and look at him just posturing, staring down that Cleveland sideline.
He's telling everyone, I can't be fooled. Watch him right here. Play goes away, he stays home. See, this is how you play on the end of the line of scrimmage. When everything goes away from you, see, watch him stay home. He sees the reverse. He even gets out in front of the intended block by Gary Barnett and makes the play. That's a veteran guy with a high football IQ using his head.
Boy, he has had some big moments against the Browns over the years, hasn't he?
He sure has.
Dumping for a loss of 10. Hoyer from the gun on 2nd and 20. Over the middle, trying to get some of the yardage back. This is Austin. Stonewall again around the 35, pushes forward to about the 33-yard line. They get the 10 yards back. And now big decision here for the Browns' first-year coordinator, Kyle Shanahan. There's Mike Pettin on the sideline as we move inside with 3 minutes left in the quarter.
All right, he talks about building a bully here in Cleveland, trying to get them back to their winning ways. Kyle Shanahan, a very creative offense coordinator and great play caller. Let's see what he comes up with here on 3rd down. I think you got to go to Andrew Hawkins, who's really getting good separation.
3rd and 11. Shanahan has got deep into the playbook already. Hoyer. Hawkins jukes up, has the first down in a brilliant catch and run from the 4th year. Hawkins, 12 yards and a first down.
You know, they say speed kills. Well, if you got speed and quickness, this really kills. Watch him come in and then back out. This is just incredible. Look at the spin out, and he makes a miss again. Asa Jackson's got to play with better leverage. Got to be able to make the tackle. Excuse me, Shockey Brown. Got to be able to play with better leverage.
7 targets for Hawkins. He's got 7 receptions. Hoyer, first and 10. West, gaping hole over center, down to the 10-yard line. And this Cleveland offense is moving. Just to get back to Hawkins, he originally tried out for the Browns as an undrafted free agent back in 08. Didn't make the team, Solomon. Worked as a caddy, had a job in a factory, went back to school, and eventually got his chance to 3 years with Cincinnati. And boy, has he made the most of his chance after signing that free agent deal in the offseason. West. Ravens defense was there. West barely getting back to the line of scrimmage.
Looks like he may have enough for the first down. He was able to keep
And he got his first down and a goal to go.
That's right. That was very heady play by Terrence West. Looked like they had him stopped, but he didn't have a knee on the ground, and he was able to regain balance and stretch out beyond the first down marker.
Well, as if the Ravens haven't been dealing with enough in terms of injuries. Now Chris Canty, their starting defensive end, looks like he is hurt. Ravens trainers onto the field. Will break late third quarter. Well, the Bronx-born Chris Canty, former Super Bowl champ with the Giants, appears to be the right leg that they're looking at on the Ravens sideline. Terrence West, lone setback on first and goal. West across the 5, getting to the 4. And you just don't know where they're coming from with these two first-year runners. It's been Crowell to start the third quarter, and now West, a young man who has his own interesting story. Academic issues out of high school, couldn't qualify for any college, worked in a sneaker shop for a couple of years. Eventually walked on at Towson in Baltimore as a number 4 back, broke every school record there. And Wilbert Montgomery, who Sally mentioned earlier, instrumental in this organization, drafted with a fumble on the play. It's loose. Cleveland arguing that it was an incomplete pass. Let's see what the call is here. Darian Stewart
on the field,
and now they say incomplete pass. Darian Stewart, the man who fell on the football, but the Browns catch a break right there.
It is a forward pass. It's a shovel pass to the tight end, Jordan Cameron, coming around on the play, number 84. See, shovel forward. Now, it looked like he may have held it
close
and took a couple of steps. See, he catches this one. See, right now he's got it. Does he have full, complete possession with a football move? That's what's to be determined. Your Harbaugh want to look at it.
Jarring hit from Courtney Upshaw to knock that ball loose. Third and goal, Hoyer. End zone, caught, touchdown, Austin.
I could tell you this. I am impressed with the quick release and the accuracy of this throw from Brian Hoyer. But I'm more impressed with the catch from Miles Austin. He grabbed this one and plucked it out of the sky. Watch it on the slant route. Watch him pluck this ball. It's a heater. Look at him grab it. Even though it was a hair thrown behind him, he still was able to haul it in.
Second touchdown reception of the season for Austin. And how about the Cleveland offense today? 3 trips into the end zone, Solomon. 3 touchdowns led by that man, Brian Hoyer.
Now, against a defense that hadn't given up any red zone touchdowns coming into today.
Hoyer has just 2 incompletions today, if you've just joined us, in 19 attempts. He's been almost perfect. Here's Condit for the point after. 5th lead change as they go back and forth on a Sunday afternoon here in Cleveland.
Oh, this is just really good. It starts with the vision of the quarterback, and take a look at it right there. There he is. But you know what? If you're going to find Miles Austin, look at him coming right there on the back of the end zone. And he's able to pluck that one out of the sky and haul it in. And here's just going to be real good vision as he scans out here and then comes back to the center of the field. He wanted Miles Austin on this one all the way, and then watch the quick release. See, he eyed him all the way and still able to stab it in there, and what a catch from Miles Austin.
Such a difficult road back as Austin celebrates. Talking about Brian Hoyer, the ACL injury was ahead of schedule, had a chance to visit with him Friday. He was so intent to speeding up his rehab. Talking about Hoyer, he found a rehab facility on his own, unbeknownst to the team, to find an anti-gravity treadmill. And they just couldn't keep him away. Wanted to fight his way back. As you see the scoring summary, 10 plays, 80 yards.
And how about the receivers? You know, Miles Austin, Andrew Hawkins, They lose a talented player like Josh Gordon, who's suspended for the first 10 games of the season. And Brian Hoyer, it doesn't matter. He loses the league's leading receiving in terms of yards from 1 year ago, and he comes out and he's playing lights out. 17 of 19 for the day.
Unbelievable stat line. And you have to think that comeback has given him all the confidence in the world after that brilliant final drive to beat Drew Brees and the Saints here a week ago Sunday. 21-17 with seconds left in this third quarter. Cundiff's kick. It'll be a touchback. Jones watches it sail through the end zone, and now Joe Flacco, who has had the answer almost every time today. No Dennis Pitta, if you've just joined us, his star tight end down. He's at a local area hospital. It is a right hip injury, same hip that he fractured, dislocated last year. We've seen Taliaferro emerge as a star today in relief of Bernard Pierce. What does Kubiak do here now down 4?
You run the football because you have time, and you have been able to dominate running the football. Juszczyk has been good filling in for Dennis Pitta, catching the ball out of the backfield and setting the line in terms of his blocking up front in the run game.
They'll do just that. Keep it on the ground. This will be the final play of the quarter. Craig Robertson blowing up Taliaferro. One of the rare times they've stopped the rookie. That's the end of the third quarter. Your score 21-17. Cleveland will return after this message and a word from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Start of the fourth quarter. Couple of AFC North rivals doing battle here in Cleveland. Week 3, 21-17. That dog pound is alive and well. Justin Forsett onto the field. Lone setback for Flacco in Baltimore. You see Flacco there. Was 4 of 8 to start. He's completed his last 10 passes. Flacco has all day to throw. Airs it out far side. He's got a man. It's incomplete. Off the fingertips of Jacoby Jones, who is open. Can't make a better throw than that if you're Flacco.
He's going up against the first-round pick, Justin Gilbert, who bites on the double move. Look, now they have him. This ball sailed on Flacco a little bit. Look, it's just outside the hands of Jacoby Jones, who's got to find a way to make that catch. Even if you got to leave your feet and dive for it, you've got to be able to haul that one in.
Flacco had to put a little bit extra touch on it to get it over the defender. But boy, it's a catch that Jones just has to make. 3rd and 12. Browns coming. Flacco hit as he throws. It sails short. It's intercepted. Tashawn Gibson, who had the pick 6 last week, inside the 30. Tackle made by Smith. And that Browns pressure getting the Flacco. 18 yards on the return from Gibson.
Well, we say pressure leads to picks. If you can crowd the quarterback and make him feel uncomfortable in the pocket. As you see, Buster Screen coming around the corner, 22, and then pressure in the face by Paul Kruger, the former Raven himself. This ball is just a wounded duck. It's up there for anyone to come down with. Tashawn Gibson gets it. This guy is just known for getting interceptions. Watch Kruger in the face of the quarterback. Both he and Buster Screen. That's why that ball just sailed high. The Browns come up with the first turnover of the ball game.
First turnover, you're right, from either team. Gibson, who led them in picks with 5 last season. That is Crowell, nowhere to go, just runs out of bounds. The offense is Solomon today have been so efficient. Rare mistake that time after the pressure on Flacco.
This has been a heavyweight fight.
It really has.
This third quarter, 3 possessions. Cleveland, 9 plays, 80 yards, touchdown. Ravens came back, 8 plays, 80 yards, touchdown by Joe Flacco. And then Cleveland and Hoyer get the ball again, 10 plays, 80 yards, touchdown, and they get the turnover and get the ball back here in great field position at the beginning of the fourth quarter.
Well, so many around the league wanted to see how the Browns would fare today after that enormous home win. Was it an aberration, or has this franchise turned the corner? Austin, the touchdown earlier. So much upheaval, Solomon, with this franchise. All the losing seasons, change in ownership a couple of years ago with Jimmy Haslam coming in. A revolving door with all the coaches and the GMs that have been through here. There is the feeling and hope that they finally have their guy in Mike Pettin and that maybe this franchise is turning the corner.
Now, I spent a lot of time with this Cleveland Browns football team this summer, the month of August. Came away just really impressed with Mike Pettin and his staff, thinking that if they give him time, he can win here because he's got the right coaching mentality for this area and for this fan base.
Hoyer on 3rd and 12. His pass deflected. Big defensive play. And look who, it's Caddy, who just had to be helped off the field with an apparent knee injury. Back into the game as you take a look at the recent history between the two. Not much of a rivalry is right. That Cleveland win here against them last November, their only win in the last 12 meetings.
Yeah, those 12 games over the 6-year period that John Harbaugh and Joe Flacco had been together in Baltimore, where they dominated the Cleveland Browns. But then Pettin comes over from Baltimore, then Buffalo to come here, and he's trying to build a bully himself.
Well, here's Billy Cundiff. He'll try from 50. Ravens fans certainly remember him. And some great moments in Baltimore. This is some low ones. This one wobbles left, hits the upright, no good. When you think back to that missed 32-yard attempt in the 2012 AFC title game, would have sent it to overtime. Cundiff misses here. Cleveland comes up empty. Their lead remains at 4. Missed 50-yard field goal attempt by Billy Cundiff. Appear to be a low snap from Christian Yount. And they can't hit it from 50. Here's Flacco. All day to throw. Deep across the field. He has a man. It is caught. Steve Smith. Momentum-changing catch. 30 yards and an enormous first down.
Here, what do we tell him in the open? We say whenever Joe Flacco goes on the scramble, he's got the big-time arm to go deep. He's got vision down the field, and then he finds Steve Smith, the same as they did week 1. He comes all the way across the field on this one. But look, there's a scramble. He's going to take it deep. And look at Flacco, strong arm to drive that ball accurately down the field.
Taliaferro, the rookie runner, the long setback takes it. They keep it on the ground on 1st and 10. Across the line of scrimmage, barely picks up a yard, maybe 2. Tackle made by Carlos Dansby. Oh, it's a Super Bowl rematch. Peyton Manning and the Broncos headed to the Pacific Northwest to take on Russell Wilson and the world champs. It's coming up next on CBS. Our doubleheader continues here in week number 3. There is no bigger regular season game than that one. And to see what the two quarterbacks have done. Wilson and company 1-1. That's coming your way next. 2nd down and long play. Here's Steve Smith. Had the early hiccups, as I mentioned earlier, an opening day against Cincinnati, but boy, he has given them a physical presence that they have not had since Anquan Boldin.
There's no doubt, and just as Andrew Hawkins has been the go-to guy on the perimeter for his quarterback, Brian Hoyer, Steve Smith starting to assert himself and make plays for his quarterback, Joe Flacco, when they need it most.
Told us he changed his diet during the offseason. Now he's basically a vegetarian. He's cut down his red meat, lost a couple of pounds, and he said it's made a big difference. 3rd and short. Wow. Flacco trying to keep it again. He's stuffed.
By guess who?
His ex-teammate, Paul Kruger.
That is right. Paul Kruger had been with the Ravens during the 2012 season when they won the Super Bowl. He comes off that edge, and he's able to dig out Joe Flacco and turn him back before he can hit the first down marker, stopping him just shy of that 20-yard line.
Solomon Kubiak's going to go for it, 4th and inches.
This is where your offensive line has to win football games for you.
It is literally inches. Taliaferro used check in the I formation. Taliaferro cutting back. Didn't get it.
Jabal Shear comes off the edge, Spiro, and he gets penetration into the backfield, slams the door shut on this Baltimore Raven run game right there. Bang! Great play on defense for the Cleveland Browns.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by State Farm. Pump up your savings with a discount double check today. Bud Light reminds fans to stay in the game and drink responsibly. And by Kelley Blue Book. Find out what you should pay for your next new car at KBB.com.
Cleveland's defense holds. Jabal Sheard stuffing Flacco on 4th down, and now the turnover on downs gives it to Hoyer and Cleveland's offense. Up 4, early stages of the 4th. Hard hit. Haloti Ngata. Last season, his 5th Pro Bowl. We go back to the 4th down play by Sheard.
See, because Deshaun Gibson steps up here, they have to account for him, and so they leave Jabal Sheard unblocked coming off the line of scrimmage. It's just really by sheer alignment that they leaving unblocked. They can't account for everyone to that side of the ball. Sheard comes off and makes a great play. So good design by Jim O'Neill, the defense coordinator for the Cleveland Browns, to get Jabal Sheard freed up to make the play.
They stopped Flacco on the 3rd down play, and then Taliaferro can't get him a couple of inches. So 2nd and 10 down for Cleveland. Just outside the 20, play action to West. Hoyer is going to take a shot. Wide open is his man. He's got him. Diving catch inside the 30. It's Gabriel. They never touched him. 15-10, and finally brought down a touchdown-saving stop by Jimmy Smith. 71 yards. Hoyer to Gabriel.
Now he'll come across. Look, he starts right here. It looks like he's coming here, but then the double move. Looks like he's coming across the middle of the field. He breaks out, and then look, the double move at the top of the route. He gets open.
Terrence West, 1st and goal. Talked about Andrew Hawkins, the diminutive wide receiver. How about this kid, Gabriel, at 5'8", biggest reception of the day for either team.
See, Matt Elam just drops coverage. He thought he was going to break out, and then he did the double move at the top of the route and broke back over the middle of the field. And Hoyer just throws it as far as he can. Gabriel had to wait for it, and then fall down, had enough time to get back up and run. That's how wide open he was. Matt Elam dropped coverage on the play.
Elam has struggled. Going back to last season. 2nd and goal, they line up right at the 10. Looked like a botched play. Hoyer is going to just take a sack. Miscommunication between Hoyer and West. And it looks like the young rookie running back is hot. They lose 7.
Yeah, he's young. Look, he went the wrong way. See, he went left, and Hoyer was expecting to come to the right side where the blocking was set up to that side. Again, rookie running back still making plays, and you have to be able to, adjust to all the things that are in the playbook. And you can tell on that one, it was a busted play by the running back, Terrence West.
West will sit here. Crowell back on. The undrafted rookie out of Alabama State. And now he splits out. Bottom of your picture on 3rd and goal inside the 20. Hoyer, pocket squeezes. He's going to run it. Pump fake. Now he's going to throw it. End zone caught. Touchdown. There is a marker down. Was Hoyer over the line of scrimmage? And this one may be coming back.
Hoyer says, I'm not going to let you hit me, even if I have to throw it beyond the line of scrimmage, where he was right there in no man's land.
Here's Bill Levy.
Illegal forward pass. Number 6, offense, was beyond the line of scrimmage when he threw the ball. 5-yard penalty and loss of down from the spot of the pass. 4th out.
Now take a look. See, okay, he's going to come back. They get everyone going up the field here, especially to that side. Now, the line of scrimmage is right around the 16-yard line. See, now he's past it. And he's right
close.
there in no man's land. He was well beyond the line of scrimmage.
About 5 yards past it.
Just kind of lost track of where he was. And, this is a game where they want to speed up the processing of the quarterback. That's what the defense is designed to do. You could tell that play, Hoyer kind of got outside of himself.
Cundiff missed from 50. This one to try to make it a 7-point lead. It's blocked! Massive play by the Ravens special teams unit. Boy, John Harbaugh needed something there, and he got it.
These two teams, they've got to make it close. Cundiff kick is blocked, and so the big pass play to Doug Gabriel, it's all for naught as the Ravens turn them back, giving up no points on the drive.
Blocked field goal by Asa Jackson, gives the football back. Here's Forsett, big first down run. Nearly gets to the 50. Jabal Sheard finally brings him down after a run of 23 yards from Forsett.
Now take a look at the block because they overload this side, and that's what's going to free up Asa Jackson to come in. See, they overload. They got more than they can block. Asa Jackson comes off the end untouched, and he's able to extend himself and blocked that kick from Billy Cundiff.
The 70-yard pass completion to Gabriel gave him a 1st and goal at the 9, but the penalty pushed him back and then had the field goal blocked. Here's Forsett again. Has to be rested as it's been Taliaferro. Solomon, the workhorse, Dansby the tackle. Couple of consecutive first downs, first through the air, and that time on the ground from Forsett.
Well, Forsett is heating it up because Taliaferro, he had 92 yards on his first 17 carries, and then on his last 5, only 2 yards, so they bring in the veteran Justin Forsett to see what he can do.
Well, this game has had everything you want. Drama. And 2 teams looking for a pivotal early season win in the division. Forsett inside the 40 on 1st and 10. Keep in mind, this is a well-rested Ravens team, 9 days since their last win in week 2. Reminder, Thursday, your football week starts here. A bitter rivalry renews itself in the NFC East. Giants, Redskins, another big-time matchup goes prime time. Thursday night football on NFL Network and CBS. Giants right now up big at home against Houston. Washington in Philly, tied at the moment. Flacco all day to throw with the play action, but he had nowhere to throw. Excellent coverage downfield by the Cleveland secondary.
It was excellent coverage by the Cleveland Browns secondary. Look at Torrey Smith. He's going to go humming through that secondary. They expect him to drop coverage, but look at that. Joe Hayden in excellent coverage. You can't bite in man coverage. Just go ahead and stay on him. Look, they even were able to pick up Owen Daniels at the second level. Flacco had nowhere to go with the ball.
Keep in mind, no Dennis Pitta. Left the game, carted off. He's at a local area hospital looking at the right hip, same hip that he injured last season, and that absence certainly looms large as Cleveland here is forced to burn a timeout. That'll be their first of the second half. And every one of these timeouts, Solomon, so vital. Keep in mind, John Harbaugh had to use one earlier with the challenge that he attempted early in the 3rd quarter. So both teams now down to 2. Well, they call themselves Scorpion, 4 of the smartest people in the world working together to fight threats against America. It's inspired by a true story. Scorpion premieres tomorrow after The Big Bang Theory, only CBS. Gary Kubiak has been nearly flawless with his play calling here. Solomon, what does he do on 3rd and 4?
Well, I think, it's 3rd and 4, so that you've got to try to get, I think, Juszczyk has been the guy that's been able to slip open. You hide him in the backfield. You act as if you're going to block. You got to have some kind of run fake play action to test the discipline of the defense, and they've left some guys wide open, especially the fullback.
Third and 4. Flacco near side looking for Torrey Smith. Incomplete. Penalty markers coming in from every direction. Justin Gilbert, the man on the coverage. The rookie from Oklahoma State, who they are so high on here.
Pass interference. Defense, number 21.
See,
First down, bottom of bounds.
I wanted to change my mind. Once I saw Torrey Smith locked up man-to-man against the rookie Justin Gilbert, who's been giving up these kind of plays. He's not playing the ball. Look, grabs the face mask. This is a foul every single way because he never plays the ball. He's playing the man. He panics. Look, he's not even trying to cover. He grabbed him well before the ball arrived, and that's a flagrant foul against Justin Gilbert. So you want to attack a rookie cornerback anytime in one-on-one coverage.
Gilbert, the 8th overall pick in the draft. Another penalty marker comes in, an illegal sub.
Half the distance to the goal. First out.
And suddenly, Mike Patton's defense imploded. Well, Gilbert struggled in the opener in Pittsburgh, but when we visited with him Friday, he was very high on Gilbert, said that he bounced back last week in the victory over New Orleans, but a critical mistake there. And suddenly, 1st and goal for the Ravens.
Well, he's breaking down in his technique in terms of bump and run. Even when playing off, he's just not maintaining good position in coverage with his vision on the football.
Taliaferro busted one in earlier. That time takes a hard hit. As Taliaferro, the young, thick first-year runner, 6 feet, 230 pounds, the 4th-round pick out of Coastal Carolina.
Now, I tell you what, though, this Cleveland Browns team, they had a chance to kind of put it away. They had a missed field goal by Billy Cundiff, and then they had one blocked. And so look at the rushing yards. We talked about the team that can dominate the running game. That's who's going to win it. And boy, is it holding up.
Ravens need a score here. Play action, Flacco. End zone, too high. Torrey Smith, the intended receiver, and again, Buster Skrine was there with the tight coverage.
And Joe knows that he had an opportunity to get Torrey Smith in the back of the end zone. Had a window. Take a look. The ball goes high. See, right now, he's got to hit him. But see, he throws it late, and he throws it high. Joe knows. Yep, that one's on me. Ownership. I love it. Ownership equals leadership at the quarterback position.
Now, this is where the two tight ends are so critical for Baltimore. No Dennis Pitta. Owen Daniels, a couple of touchdown receptions last week in the home win over the Steelers. And now a timeout taken by Cleveland. They'll be down to their final one. 5:07 left. With 3rd and goal coming up. Well, this Tuesday on CBS, it's the season premiere you've been waiting for. TV's #1 drama, NCIS, back in action Tuesday night, 8/7 Central, only CBS.
Okay, we got a 3rd down, 3rd and goal, Spiro. And again, if you can get the one-on-one matchup against a rookie on the outside like Justin Gilbert, then that's what you're going to do. I'm inclined to allow my offensive line to power it in. But Joe Flacco has the ability to change the play at the line of scrimmage depending on what he gets from the defense.
Everything that the Ravens have experienced the last couple of weeks. Can they pull one out here on the road? 3rd and goal, incomplete. Through the hands of Forsett. Decision time from Kubiak, his field goal team, out onto the field with Tucker.
No, I think you got to go for the field goal here. You make it a 1-point ball game. You still got 5 minutes to play, and your defense is playing really well. And you don't even have to onside kick it here. As you can see, that ball's just outside the hands of Justin Forsett. Go ahead and take the 3 points and allow your defense to do exactly what they've been doing all day.
This will be a 21-yard attempt from Tucker, the 30-year kicker out of Texas. First-time Pro Bowler last season. And this one is perfectly through the uprights. Ravens still have the 2 timeouts in their hip pocket. Inching closer, 1-point deficit, 5 to play. You're watching the NFL on CBS.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Verizon. More live games than ever before with NFL Mobile. And by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Well, Browns fans checking their blood pressure early in the season. Like that frantic comeback in week 1 down in Pittsburgh, 27-3, scored 24 straight points in the second half, only to lose last week. Of course, the dramatic come from behind win over Drew Brees and the Saints. And now their lead down to 1, and a couple of missed kicks looming large late. That one from 50, a low snap from Christian Yount. Nice job by Spencer Lanning, and then the block by Asa Jackson, who came flying in to make a critical special teams play for the Ravens.
And going in this direction, Spiro, the Cleveland Browns and Billy Cundiff would be kicking into the win if he has an opportunity to kick that.
Jordan Gentleman in motion, 1st and 10 play action. Hoyer's pass wobbling through the air. Incomplete. Not sure if that was deflected at the line of scrimmage. Trying to find Hawkins. It'll be 2nd and 10.
It almost had to be, right? That one was very wobbly.
This didn't make any sense.
Yeah, I'm gonna go and look at maybe Haloti Ngata right there. I think is able to get a paw on it with his left hand.
Browns trying to chew up as much time as they can. Here's Crowell. Working to the outside across the 20. Then the Ravens down to 2 timeouts. Clock continues to run. There's Mike Pettin getting his first win as Cleveland head coach, the 47-year-old Bucks County, PA native. Who just 12 years ago was a high school coach in Eastern Pennsylvania. His father, Mike Sr., a legendary high school coach in that region.
Oh, you've got to be able to run the ball. You want to eat clock. You want to churn out yards. First, you got to be able to convert here on 3rd and 7.
See what they've done today on 3rd down, 5 for 9. Poyer hit as he throws, near side. It's incomplete. And John Harbaugh's defense getting off the field. C.J. Mosley coming up the gut with the pressure.
And also Elvis Dumerville as well. Coming off the edge right here, working against Mitchell Schwartz. C.J. Mosley in the face. Forcing the early throw. If you're Hoyer, you're smart, but not taking the sack. Just had to dump it off and live to fight another day.
And the Browns offense, Sally, taking just 47 seconds off the clock. Lanning's kick, fair catch signal. The Ravens special teams player, Shockey Brown, was awfully close to that bouncing ball. Ravens catch a break. It never touched him, and now Flacco back onto the field. Week 3 continues later today on CBS, and for some of you on Fox, and then tonight, Sunday Night Football on NBC. Tune in tomorrow for Monday Night Football on ESPN with the Jets and the Chicago Bears. We are in Cleveland. Spiro Dedes, Solomon Wilcots, our entire CBS crew. This is a spot that Joe Flacco has been in so many times in his 7-year career. Super Bowl MVP 2 years ago. Can he pull one out here in Cleveland?
Got 4 minutes. They've got 2 timeouts in their pocket, plus the 2-minute warning, so essentially 3 timeouts on this drive.
Flacco to the airways on 1st down. It's for Sick. They pick up 4. Tackled by the 2 linebackers, Dansby and Robertson.
Now, if I'm the Cleveland Browns, I got to watch and see how they substitute, because if they're wanting to run the ball, they're doing it with Taliaferro, who's been very good. When they keep Justin Forsett in there, it's usually a sign that they want to throw the ball, even though they'll run it with them just to balance it out. But now with 3 wide receivers in the game and tight end, it's usually a passing personnel group.
Flacco 2nd and 6. He leads the first set. Rolling out. He's going to run it across the 35. Markley throwing from the secondary. We'll see what the call is here. That is a 1st down run from Flacco, and now we await the penalty call from Levy.
Holding, number 23 defense. 5-yard penalty added on to the end of the run. 1st down.
That's the Pro Bowler Hayden.
And you know he's locked up with Steve Smith. It's going to be at the bottom of the screen. Take a look at it right down here. See, he didn't get himself in position, but at the top right there, he grabs hold, and they're beyond 5 yards down the field. Simply can't do it. There it is. And you see, he's just trying to screen off Joe Hayden at this point because it is a run play. But that was a good call by the officials on Joe Hayden.
1st and 10 after the penalty. Baltimore going backwards. Forsett dumped by Desmond Bryant, the 6th-year defensive lineman out of Harvard. A loss of 6.
He's working against the left tackle, number 70, right there. Look, number 60, I should say, Eugene Monroe. He beats Eugene Monroe by knifing in underneath. That's something that Mike Pettin talks about with his defensive ends. They want him to set the edge, Spiro, but they do give them the liberty to come underneath and take a chance and make a play. That time, Bryant was able to do so and get into the backfield for the stop.
Clock continues to run, 2:39. Flacco throwing left through the hands of Torrey Smith. Incomplete. It'll be 3rd and long. Let's get you an update. Week 3 continues around the NFL. To New York and James Brown.
Up next, Super Bowl rematch, Broncos at Seahawks. You'll see Peyton Manning getting another opportunity against Seattle, and Russell Wilson, who runs perhaps the best balanced offense in the league. 2 championship-caliber coaches manning the sidelines. Coming up next here on CBS. Back to Spiro and Solomon.
All right, JB, we all look forward to that. Biggest play of the day here, 3rd and 16. Ravens need something right here down to point. Flacco over the middle, not even close.
Now we got
there
a
is
flag.
A marker down now,
That's
far
right.
side of the field on the Cleveland side. What's the call here? Clock stopped at 2:30. Ravens sitting on those 2 timeouts.
Pass interference, number 89 offense. Penalties decline. 4th down.
That time, Steve Smith, they're saying that it's OPI, offensive pass interference. He and Joe Hayden are just tussling and battling and going at it, trying to get open for his quarterback, Flacco. That time, Jim O'Neill, the defensive coordinator for Cleveland, they blitzed Flacco, didn't allow him to hold on to it. He had to dump it, and no receiver could come open soon enough for Flacco to complete the pass.
A win today by Cleveland would put them over the 500 mark after week 3 for the first time since 2009. Colt McCoy was their quarterback. Fair catch signaled by Benjamin. This one's going to take a Ravens bounce inside the 10. That's exactly what the Ravens special teams are hoping for. Excellent punt by Cook. The last time this Cleveland team started 2-0 at home, Jeff Garcia was their quarterback. 10 years, it was 2004. Won their home opener against the Ravens, and then week 4, 4-point win over the Redskins.
Well, I got to tell you, today, if you're Mike Pettin, this is what you want. 2:19 left. You have the ball. Yeah, you're pinned in inside your own 10-yard line, but this is what you want with a 1-point lead, the ball in your hands to try to close it out. And that means Kyle Shanahan is going to run the football here to try to eat clock and dominate possession.
Obviously want to get the Ravens to use their timeouts. This is Crowell across the 10. That'll take us to the 2-minute warning. Crowell for 5. As Baltimore will take its second timeout. There is 34-year-old Kyle Shanahan. So they'll have to run at least one more play here. And on the other side, John Harbaugh, who we had a chance to visit with yesterday. As you'd expect, Solomon had a little bit of an edge to him. Everything he's had to deal with the last couple of weeks. Trying to keep his guys as focused as can be. And what a finish here. There's more drama for these guys to deal with.
Oh, they had 10 days to prepare for this game after winning on Thursday night against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So they talked about the field being their sanctuary. Well, they got to turn it into paradise by coming here to steal a win in Cleveland.
Man in motion is Jim Dre. This is 2nd and 5. Crowell on the take. Met by a wall of purple defenders. D'Angelo Tyson, the 3rd-year interior defensive lineman out of Georgia, on the tackle. As now Baltimore will burn its final timeout. Oh, coming up Saturday, it's the best game from the best conference when Arkansas takes on Texas A&M on the Home Depot SEC on CBS. It all begins with college football today. Both Arkansas and A&M big winners yesterday. A&M 4-0 for the first time since 2006. So no more timeouts for the Ravens. They still have the 2-minute warning.
And I still like them running the football. Now, maybe it's a screenplay, but you want to make sure that you don't have an incompletion to stop the clock flowing. You want to get this thing down to 2-minute warning, and so that when the Ravens get the ball, they'll be playing with no timeouts, including the 2-minute warning.
Will look like some movement pre-snap. It's incomplete. Hoyer's pass a little bit behind Hawkins, streaking over the middle. Asa Jackson was right there, and the Browns will have to punt with still 5 seconds left before the 2-minute warning.
Now, this one was thrown hot and hard behind Andrew Hawkins. Had they completed it, it may be game over. They may be able to get out of here with one more possession without having to create a first down. And so it now looks like they're going to kick it or punt it away to Jacoby Jones, who is a threat to bring this one back.
You think back a couple of years ago in the Super Bowl, Spencer Lanning onto the field, the 2nd-year punter. Cleveland's offense uses up only 14 seconds of game time. Fair catch, and now a short field for Joe Flacco, the Super Bowl MVP from 2 years ago, will have a chance next. Dramatic finish here in Cleveland, week 3. Joe Flacco and company onto the field. There's Kyle Shanahan. Questionable play call to throw it on 3rd down. They took off only 14 seconds of game clock. And now Flacco, the short field, starting at the 50, down a point. Over the middle, it's caught. And Steve Smith inside Cleveland territory. Going back to the Shanahan play call, Solomon, you were a bit surprised at what he did on third down.
Yeah, on 3rd and 7. I thought they still should have run the ball, make sure that it wasn't an incompleted pass to stop the clock. They could have eaten more time off the clock, and if they were going to have to punt it on 4th down, they could have used a timeout after running the ball to stop it on 4th down and maybe gotten the clock down to about 1:30.
Flacco on 2nd and 5. Down the sideline, it's caught. Smith brought down at the 10-yard line, 33 yards, and now the officials will mark it. Let's see it about the 12. What a pass and catch by Smith.
Clock still running, and now Cleveland may have to use some of their timeouts as Steve Smith, the go-to guy. We told you, 2nd most targeted receiver in the NFL. Stutter, step, and go to get beyond Joe Hayden, who's reaching. And what a throw from Joe Flacco with a game on the line between 2 defenders, Dante Whitner and Joe Hayden. Great throw, great catch, great play from Steve Smith.
No timeouts left for the Ravens. Under a minute left. Here's Forsett inside the 15. So a Cleveland crowd that last week watched Hoyer take him down the field. That dramatic game-winning drive. Now the tables turned on them as Steve Smith being looked at on the sideline. And it looks like the Browns will burn a timeout. 32 seconds left. The injured linebacker is Craig Robertson.
Or you just can't give up the big throw. I thought they could have done more to maybe get time off the clock, but at the end of the day, the Cleveland Browns defense was going to have to go back out on the field. They were pinned in too deep inside of their 10-yard line, and really to try to get any other offense other than running the ball to kill the clock. And so if the defense has got to go back out there, you've got to make plays and you've got to get stops. And I know Mike Pettin is saying, hey, we're playing our best, Joe Hayden on their best, Steve Smith, and we expect to win.
Well, think of everything that this Baltimore team has been through, just in terms of the players, as Robertson is going to gingerly walk off the field. Of course, the Ray Rice controversy that continues. Chris Canty, whom we had a chance to visit with last night, says that he felt like the team showed its true character with that Week 2 win against Pittsburgh under very, very difficult circumstances. And now that thing just keeps on going now as the Ravens looking for what would be a huge early season road win. 3rd straight divisional game for them to start the season. Solomon, what are they trying to do here on 2nd and 10? 32 seconds left.
Yep, protecting the football. You're going to set up for a field goal. You're going to let Justin Tucker get you the lead here. And I think it just goes back to their quarterback, Joe Flacco, who made that throw to Steve Smith. We talked to him yesterday. I said, what happens in games where you're struggling early or the offense just not quite getting it done? He said, as a 7-year veteran at the quarterback position, I have to be patient. I can't let defensive coordinators on the opposing team get me out of my game. I thought he kept his patient and poised and composure in this game here today.
Ravens are out of timeout, so they will just down it there, and that'll set the stage for that man, Justin Tucker, the 3rd-year kicker out of Texas. Last season set franchise records in field goals made and attempted. As for the 2nd straight week, it comes down to the final second for Mike Pettin and the Cleveland Browns. 32-yard attempt. Morgan Cox, the snapper. Sam Cook, the holder. Tucker for the win from 32 yards out. It is good, and the Baltimore Ravens get out of here with an enormous Week 3 win in the division.
Justin Tucker lines up, nails it. It's true. Right down the middle. A team that, of course, a lot of adversity swirling around John Harbaugh and his football team. He has 10 days to get ready. He was able to get his team to block out what he told us had been a tremendous buzz outside of the building. He said it only matters of what we think about ourselves inside the building. And the focus and the mental dexterity of this football team for the Baltimore Ravens to come in here against a good Cleveland Brown team and win it, simply phenomenal.
The Baltimore Ravens win it. Your final score, 23-21. Now for our entire crew, Solomon Wilcots, producer Vic Frank, director Chris Fenson, Spiro Diaz saying so long.